What's up, my good mindfully fit people? My name is Troy Devlin. I'm a men's health coach. I specialize in weight loss, and I'm just so thankful to have this opportunity to get to speak with you guys here on YouTube. Thank you so much, YouTube. Appreciate everything. Hey, you know what? If you guys are interested in health and wellness and you care about that cause, you think it's important, and you would like to help me in spreading the message of men's health, I would ask that you like, subscribe, hit the bell, and tell your friends about the channel. If you know anyone who's struggling, if you know a man who's struggling with masculinity, which is what we're going to talk about in this video, or particularly if you know anyone who's struggling to lose weight, because it's something that I'm pretty intimately familiar with. I've helped a lot of people lose a lot of weight, including myself, and we can help you get right. We're creating a community of like-minded people here, a tribe, so to speak. All right, so welcome, and again, thank you so much. Now, in this video, I thought we could talk a little bit about masculinity, specifically something that came to my attention recently. It's a term called toxic masculinity. Have you guys heard of this term, toxic masculinity? I got to tell you, in my opinion, there is no such thing. There's no such a thing. Toxic masculinity. I find it very concerning that that someone has created this phrase, particularly because of the fact that I have a little brother who's in high school right now, and I care about him very much. And I think that this term has the possibility to hurt men. That term hurts men. If they internalize that, it's going to hurt them, particularly young men. And I don't want to preach and go down a rabbit hole about this, but right now, in this country, we are suffering deaths of despair at an alarming rate. And that is a mental health issue. And when you have mental health struggles, what's going on inside the mind, that's a dialogue. There's a dialogue going on inside of all of our minds all the time, right? Have you ever noticed how you kind of like talk to yourself, right? And some people say, yeah, I'm hearing voices, and we all hear voices. It's us. We're talking to ourselves in our mind. It's our inner dialogue. I'm sure you're probably familiar with what I'm talking about. Now, we have to be careful that we don't allow harmful inner dialogue, okay? As a health coach and as someone who, helps to guide people in the weight loss process, the way that I do that, guys, just to be honest with you, high level is by infiltrating the subconscious mind, right? Replacing that inner dialogue. Typically, if someone is overweight, right, that person has an inner dialogue that is not helpful to the individual. And so as the coach, what I try to do is by asking sort of leading questions and stuff, and through repetition, I try to create a new inner dialogue, with the person. And all of a sudden, the person just starts to look at things differently. And when you look at things differently, miracles can happen that way in terms of changing your body composition. But in terms of what's going on from a mental health standpoint, I'm not a doctor, guys. I'm not a therapist, but I know how important it is for overall health, the story that we tell ourselves. And if we're telling ourselves that we're toxic because we have masculine traits, because we're men, that's not going to work out for us long term, guys. I say discard that phrase, toxic masculinity. Discard it. And I'm very familiar with. What I'm thinking may have occurred here is uninformed people that were just kind of reacting emotionally, perhaps, to people's bad behavior. Right? Let's say that there are men out there that behave badly. I feel like toxic masculinity is a term that's used to describe people that exhibit narcissistic traits. There are so many great videos here on YouTube about what narcissists are and how narcissists behave and narcissistic abuse. All that stuff is real, guys. And like I said, use this incredible resource, which is YouTube, to research narcissism. And I'm feeling like what has happened here is there were some men out there who were extreme narcissists, and the victims of that narcissistic abuse may have mistakenly attributed that behavior to masculinity, when in fact masculinity is just it's the other side of masculine is the other side of feminine, like light is to dark. And so I'm a man and I have masculine traits, but I also have feminine traits. And whether you like it or not, if you're a man, you have feminine traits, right? There's balance in nature. It's just how it works. So masculine is just the opposite of feminine. You can't have one without the other. And I would say that that it's not something that's toxic. It just is. It's just something that is. That you could make the argument that nothing is good or bad. It's really just our thoughts about that thing that make it so. And I feel so too when it comes to masculinity or femininity. I feel like these things are to be explored and celebrated and never demonized, because if you are being true to your authentic self, and your authentic self leans toward masculinity or toward being more feminine, let's say, I would say it's okay to embrace that, and we shouldn't. We definitely shouldn't call ourselves toxic, ever. It's never helpful. Research narcissism, guys. Let me know what you think about this. But young men, embrace masculinity, okay? If I look back, let's say I do a after-action review. I'm 40 years old. I'm doing an after-action review on my life thus far, and I think to myself, geez, I felt much less masculine, or I don't feel as tough, let's say, as like my grandfather or my dad. And I've kind of felt that like my whole life. Just looking at myself, I think to myself, geez, you know what? I don't feel super masculine. I feel like maybe I'm a little less masculine. And, it's just something that I've noticed. So I've actually tried to cultivate masculinity, or traits that I would consider to be masculine traits. And I've done that by, studying people who I believe are great men. I like to study the Stoic philosophers. Stoicism has really helped me a lot. I've experimented with cold exposure and heat exposure and, exercise in various ways to build my resilience. I try to lean into doing hard things. And I feel like, one of the things that's really important about manliness, something that's manly in my opinion, is having the courage to stand up and do what's right. When you know in your heart of hearts what's right, do that, as opposed to just doing what everyone else is doing, even though it's not right, but you go along because you're afraid. And what I would say is that cowardice is not a virtue, guys. Cowardice is not a virtue, okay? So, toxic masculinity? No. Out with that. It doesn't exist. It's not even a thing. It's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. If you feel like maybe something like this has occurred, I would invite you to research narcissism, because I found that to be very helpful and very interesting. So, men, thank you for joining me, and best of luck to all of you. Again, if you've watched this far, hit the bell, subscribe, hit the quan, spin the wheel, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Peace.